Alrighty, I'm going to try my hand once again at roasting some coffee. I'm going to roast some Sweet Maria Guatemala Organic Aldea San Juan. I think I'm going to do 2 batches. I've got my fresh roaster over here with an extension tube. And I followed someone on YouTube's example of connecting thermocouples to a phidget, which is there in that box, which then connects to my computer running Artisan. And I'm still a super novice at Artisan, and to be honest, don't quite really know what I'm doing with it yet. So, but I've also got a notepad so I can take notes, and that's what I'll primarily be leaning on, and I'll try and multitask using Artisan at the same time. I'm going to try and just film this in general. Maybe in the future I'll do some better close-ups or something. So I've got a scale. I'm going to weigh out my beans, and then a cooling tray, and then yeah, so that's about it. So I also wanted to show how I put this together. This has the phidget inside of it here, and I wired it up into this box just to kind of make things sort of tidy in the workstation, but also to store it. And so I hook up the thermocouple there, and it runs to the for the 2 thermocouples to the roaster, and then the USB that runs to the computer. So that's my little setup. It was a fun little project. Had to try soldering for the first time. Okay, so a couple things. I just wanted to say I am roasting this outside in my backyard. And so here's a measurement of the outside air temperature with this kitchen thermometer. Who knows how accurate that is. So this might be too cold for an environmental temperature to be able to roast in. So we'll find out. So that's that. And then I'm going to roast 200 grams of coffee per batch, and I think I'm going to do 2 batches. So let's see, get started here. And this scale is a cool looking scale, I think, but I don't think it's very accurate. Not sure if 200 will fit in there. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. Right on the money. Well, 201. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and pour the beans in to the roasting chamber. So one last note before I get started. I've roasted with the fresh roast now probably, I don't know, 8 or 12 times. And so I'm still learning how best to use it. But you'll see as I'm roasting that I'll be adjusting the settings down here on the panel for the roaster. And I mostly have been following a similar sort of course in the roastings that I've done, and I don't know, I'm still working on understanding and learning how to gauge the various phases of a coffee roast and the times and temperatures needed at whichever stages of the phases So you'll see me writing on the notepad and somewhat fiddling with Artisan on the computer, but I'll mostly be paying attention to when the beans first begin to turn yellow, and when I first hear them beginning to reach first crack is when you'll sort of hear a popping noise. And I am doing this outside, and it's around 6 o'clock in the evening, so it's twilight time and birds are chirping and neighbors are making noises. So I apologize if that comes across in the video. But I'm going to go ahead and get started here in a sec. All right, I'm going to take the top off of here, set it aside. And then go ahead and pour these out. They're still a little warm. I had a few mistakes, which I'll talk about after a bit. All right, I'm going to have this container that I got, coffee vac. It's really nice. You have to press this button. It creates a vacuum so that a good seal. And you press it to open it. This is what I usually store the coffee in. So I'm going to weigh the roasted beans, and we can see the difference in weight. We started at 200. Tear this out. Alrighty. I can pour this without spilling. All right, 162. So it lost 38 grams in weight. Yeah, we'll figure out the percentage later. So this is the final, I don't know what it's called, I can't remember, the final display of the data for the Artisan for the duration of the roast. One mistake, and I have to figure this out, I didn't notice until a couple minutes in that one of my thermocouples wasn't registering. So I think that affected some of the data, but also, like I said at the beginning, I really don't know what I'm doing with Artisan. I'm still learning, so I don't really know when to press the things when they need to be done. I'm still learning about the rates of rise and the phases of the roasting process. So it probably, to an experienced person who might be watching this video, what you see on the screen probably looks like a hot mess. But we'll see. After a couple days of the coffee resting, I will give it a taste, and if it doesn't taste terrible, then I guess in some sense that's a success. But I'm also still trying to learn how to control the ways that I can control the process of the roasting, and I am mostly bumbling about in the dark at the moment. So another mistake that I noticed was that normally I have a timer running on my phone so that it can help me write down the times and when I check the temperature. It's kind of the method that I have been using, and it took me maybe about a minute into the roast to realize that my phone is what I'm using to record, and I didn't have a timer. So I tried following the timer that was on Artisan, but because I'm still not fully familiar with how to use that piece of software, my times were all messed up for this roast. So I tried to guesstimate. Usually what I do is write down temperature during certain time intervals every 30 seconds, and then I write down any changes to the controls, the fan speed or the power settings, and usually what time I made those. And I write down when first crack was, when I started cool down, and then the settings that I started with on the fresh roaster. But this time things were kind of all over the place, so I would say that the data that I got from this roast was fairly anemic, but the roast appeared to be of a decent coloring, but that I know doesn't necessarily indicate quality. So we'll see after a couple days resting what it tastes like. One last mistake I noticed was that the lighting on the roaster, I just have this light up here on the side of the house and because it's gotten dark outside, I had a hard time seeing the actual color and detail of the beans as they were roasting. So I usually mark down when the beans first begin their yellowing phase after the drying phase has concluded, but I really wasn't able to see, and so there was a lot of parts of this roast that I would like to refine in the future, so stay tuned.